Good evening, everyone who's joined us. We're going to wait a few more minutes before we get started here. It's just a few minutes before 6 o'clock, so we'll wait for some more parents to log on. Then we'll get started in just about 2 or 3 minutes. Good evening, everyone. It's just after 6 o'clock. We're going to get started here in just a minute. I see that we have several people logged on and ready to go, so we'll give people just a few more minutes to join. In the meantime, if you want to check out the chat, I've posted a link to resources for this session, which includes links to the breakouts we're going to do to the individual pathways. So while you're waiting for us to officially get started here, if you want to click on that link and take a look at that. We won't start those individual pathway breakouts for about 20 to 25 minutes once our main presentation's over. But we'll wait about 2 more minutes before we officially kick off here. All right, good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started here. I see we have quite a few viewers logged on already. If you're just joining us, I posted some resources in the chat that you can go ahead and pull up when you want to. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to do an initial main session with everyone here, and then we're going to do some breakout sessions with individual pathways, and you'll get to meet the teachers from those pathways. So the link that I posted in the chat has the individual links for those pathways. So again, thanks for joining us tonight. We're excited to share some about our CTE programs. Our objectives is to learn more about those CTE programs and how to get involved as a parent with unique industry experience. I'm Brian Shum. I'm the Associate Principal of Mountain House High School. I work with curriculum instruction. I work closely with the CTE department, and it's one of the most exciting things. One of my favorite things that I get to work with in my role here. So tonight I'll start us off with a CTE overview. We'll talk about what CTE is. So tonight we got a lot of parents joining us of current CTE students. We also invited the parents of incoming 8th grade students who are going to be freshmen next year. So we're hoping to share some useful information about what these programs are. We'll talk about the CTSOs, or Career Technical Student Organizations, and how students can get involved in those. And then we'll share some opportunities we have for parents to get involved. We know we have a lot of parents working in industries that represent our pathways, from business to computer science to the medical field. So we'll talk about ways for you to get involved as well. And then we'll finish up tonight with some individual breakouts. I'll turn you over to our pathway teachers so you get to meet them and learn more about what they're doing in those individual pathways. So I'll just start off with a basic idea of what CTE is, and talk about the different pathways we have here as a school. So basically what CTE is its career technical organization. So it's a program of study that involves a sequence of courses, and the goal is to equip students with the skills and knowledge that they're ready to go into either post-secondary education. They're going to specialize in one of these pathways once they go off to college, or get them ready for entering the workforce or careers. So our pathways are kind of unique and a little bit different from the typical education experience that they get, as we focus a lot on hands-on experience for our kids. So here at Mountain House High School, we actually have 9 pathways starting next year. So we have 3 pathways, which are PLTW, and those are pathways that are using curriculum from Project Lead the Way, which is an established national curriculum that our teachers get a lot of training in. And those are our biomedical science, engineering, and computer science pathways. And then we have several non-PLTW pathways, which include media arts, which is also video production, digital arts, culinary arts, business, and dance. So in our business pathway, up until this year, we've had 1 pathway, which was really business management. Next year, for the first time, we're opening up an additional pathway within business, so students can specialize in marketing and entrepreneurship. So we're excited to offer this many pathways as a school. A typical high school might offer 2 or 3 CTE pathways at most. But us being the only high school in the district and having a lot of demand for it, we're kind of in a unique position where we can offer 9 different CTE pathways for students. Another unique thing about us here at Mountain House High School that not a lot of people recognize is that we have a 7-period day. And a typical high school has 6 periods during the day, and that 7th period allows us to offer more electives, so students can take additional CTE courses. A lot of our students take 1 CTE pathway, but many also finish 2 or 3 pathways during that time here at Mountain House High School. So the pathway structure for each of our unique pathways is each student goes into an introductory course, and most start them as freshmen. There's also an option for many of our pathways to start as sophomores if they get started a little bit late. But that introductory course is a broad overview of key skills and concepts that they'll see throughout the pathway. And then once they get through that and they progress into sophomore and junior year, they take concentrator courses. And each of our pathway has 1 or 2 concentrator courses. Some have more. Our business pathway, of course, allows some extra specialization as students branch off into different interests that they have. So they work through those concentrator courses, and they're doing this in addition to their required coursework here at Mountain House High School. And then that caps off with a capstone course. So most of our pathways, students aren't going to get to the capstone until senior year after going through the introductory and concentrators. But there's a couple of our pathways where students can actually go into those capstones as juniors and then retake it again as seniors. So our culinary pathway is an example of this, where students can go into catering, which is the capstone course, and work on some year-long projects, and then take it again as seniors, and continue to have that experience. So once they get to that capstone experience, it's designed to be a culmination of all the things that they've learned throughout their experience in CTE, whatever pathway that they're in. And it's designed so that they're working on a year-long student-led project. So students have a lot of choice in what they're going to specialize in. Usually they're working with a group of other students who have a common interest, and they're able to work on that project together. And the goal is to have an authentic audience for that. And when we're talking about that authentic audience, we're talking about, an audience outside the classroom. Typically when a student does a project in like a normal history class or an English class, they're doing that and they're presenting it to the teacher or the other students in the classroom. With CTE, the goal is to have a community impact. And so we want them presenting out in the community. A lot of our students wind up presenting at some of our K-8 sites here throughout the district, or some different fairs that we have on campus throughout the year. And then a lot of our pathways also involve certifications. And one of the goals of CTE is to offer students certifications that are actually going to matter to them as they go into the workforce. And some examples of that are Java programming and computer science, basic life support and CPR in our biomed pathway, and then Safe Serve and culinary. So these are certificates that are kind of fundamental to whatever industry that they're going into. The CTE model is unique, and it differs from a typical course that students would take here, and that part of it involves what's going on in the classroom, the typical academic learning. But a lot of it is skills-based and hands-on. So a lot of our stuff that happens within CTE is project-based. Students are working together a lot. They have a lot of choice in the projects that they're choosing and the topics that they're pursuing. And we're also focused on empowering our students, and that involves students giving each other feedback. They're working through self-assessment as they go through that process, with the teachers facilitating that. And we also want to offer lots of extended learning opportunities. So how can we get students involved out in the community, performing some kind of community service, some type of outreach? A lot of times they do that with their capstone projects. But you'll see some of our students out in the community doing internships as well. For example, within our biomed pathway, we currently have an internship set up with the local urgent care provider over by Safeway. I took my son there a few months ago because he was sick, and I was happy to see some of our students actually working there and doing some of the basic work where they're doing like temperature checks and checking weight as people come in there. So we're getting students involved out in the community with job shadowing and internships as well. All of our CTE pathways are guided by overarching career readiness competencies. When we look at what is required out in industry, and we talk to our industry partners, a lot of times they're talking about specific skills, but more often they're talking about these soft skills that our students tend to lack as they're going into the workforce. Things like critical thinking and problem solving, the ability to work on a team. And we found, regardless of what industry that you're going into, students need the ability to communicate with each other and talk to each other and share their ideas. Doesn't matter how good their ideas are, how creative they are, if they can't share them effectively with others. So the overarching competencies that we're focused on are often those soft skills that are getting students ready to go out and be competitive in the workforce, and also equipping them as they go out and pursue whatever college that they're going into. I also want to share some examples of the hands-on type activities that we're getting our students involved in on campus and in the community. We recently purchased a trailer that we're going to use as a mobile student store for our business pathway. So we do have a student-based enterprise where we have a student store, and it's been working out of a small kind of closet space, and we have some vending machines that those students are selling products on campus here. But our business teachers were really thinking, okay, how can we make this bigger? And one of the problems that we have here on campus that you may know about is that we're continually expanding and welcoming more students. And as we continue to build houses here in Mountain House, we're crunched for space. So we don't have space on campus to dedicate to that student store. So our business teachers were super creative, and we came up with a way through the grant funding that we have to purchase a mobile trailer. So this just came in last month. We're still working on rolling it out for a grand opening, and the plan is to be able to take this to events throughout the community, football games, sports events, all kinds of things happening here on campus and in Mountain House, so our students can be marketing and selling things to students and anyone else in the community who wants some Mustang gear. Another great example of the hands-on type of activities that our students are involved in is our culinary pathway that culminates in a catering class. And those students are actually out catering events here at the high school, but also at a lot of K-8 sites. And recently they catered their first wedding. So those students who have progressed through the pathway and are in that catering course are actually making an impact and doing real world type catering. And the food is excellent. Like, I always enjoy when we have one of these events coming up, because I know these students are going to have prepared some amazing food for us. So we have two super talented teachers who work with the students in this pathway to get them out there. Then we also have a full news studio. Fabiola Farral is our amazing video production teacher. We have a live student newscast that goes out weekly. Has several stars who are newscasters and reporters for that. And they work closely with the rest of the department and the rest of our students around campus and teachers to come up with interesting stories and get that out to the rest of campus. These are some examples of the Capstone projects that students worked on last year. We have some of our biomed students presenting here. And some of the topics for the Capstone projects from last year, including preventing social media-induced body dissatisfaction, which is a huge issue among teenagers right now. Reducing stress for students taking advanced courses. We have many students who are taking AP courses here in honors. The recommendation is never to take more than 2 or 3 AP courses at a time, but we have many students who are taking like 6 AP courses at a time, so the stress that they're feeling is real. So they're focused on research projects that recommend solutions for everything from that to remedies for menstrual cramping and fentanyl awareness too. So they're focused on having a real impact out in the community. And here's a picture in our annual white coat ceremony. So students who get to the 3rd course in the sequence for our biomed program, they get to participate in the white coat ceremony. And so they're honored on stage. They actually do a version of the Hippocratic Oath, and we have some guest speakers who are actually in the medical field. And it's a big honor for them and big recognition for them for all the work that they're doing. So just another example of some of the ceremonies that our kids are involved in. All kids who complete their pathway during high school are honored in the Capstone ceremony, and that takes place here on campus the week before graduation every year. So we invite the parents of all the students who are completing their CTE pathways to come and view their Capstone courses and then get recognized in a big presentation we have in the theater every year. So looking at impact of our CTE courses, they're extremely popular here. We're very proud that we're able to offer this many CTE pathways. And we're proud of the fact that 76% of our students are taking a CTE course this year. And again, this is unheard of for high schools around the area or a typical high school. where CTE courses are only accessible to a small percentage of students, or they might have one or two pathways that only a few students take. So we're proud that 76%, the vast majority of our students, are taking some kind of CTE program. And you can see overall, we have almost 2,000 students out of our 2,500 who are in a pathway. And right now we have 15 teachers who are fully dedicated to teaching within the CTE pathway. And next year, we're going to have quite a few more as we continue to grow. We're expanding our business pathway and biomed pathway by quite a bit. So we'll have some additional teaching staff to come aboard and help with that. And speaking of our teachers, CTE teachers are kind of in a unique situation. So the path for a typical teacher to go into education is that they'll major in education or something like history or English, and then they'll go on to a program where they're taught how to teach. So they go into student teaching, and that takes anywhere from a semester to a year, where they're working hands-on with kids, but they're not necessarily being paid for that. And so they're taking coursework, they're student teaching, and it takes a couple years to get through that process to become a fully trained teacher in the traditional pathway. So most of our CTE teachers aren't coming through that traditional pathway, though. Some have, and because of prior CTE or industry experience, they're able to add on a CTE credential. But most of the teachers we have in the CTE pathway are actually starting off in industry somewhere. So we've had people who've worked in the biomed pathway who are actually doctors. We've worked with people who are film producers. They've worked in architecture or engineering. They've worked in business and real estate, and they've decided that they really want to share their expertise and work with kids. So they're coming in primarily with industry experience, and as part of their training, they're learning on the job. So they're really learning hands-on that craft of teaching as they go. And once they get hired as a CTE teacher, they qualify for an initial credential. And over the course of a year or two, they're taking some additional classes outside of their teaching time, usually in the evening, where they're learning more about teaching and working with a mentor. So they're coming through a non-traditional route and really have deep industry experience in most cases. They are highly trained. So once they are here with us, we provide training, and our goal is always to get our CTE teachers out to some industry-specific training every year. We want them to be able to stay current on industry trends, and CTE is constantly changing. And we also want them to do teacher-focused training too. So we provide them with extra support, extra monetary resources that they can go and do those trainings. Our team is also highly collaborative. They meet every day as a CTE department, and within that, they're on teams so that our teachers who are in the business pathway or computer science pathway are able to meet with each other and design lessons together, design assessments together, and share best practices. So that collaboration really helps with the growth as well. And really, they're one of my favorite departments to work with on campus because they're so passionate about what they do. So they're bringing their deep industry experience, their interest in sharing it and working with kids, and they're a fun group to work with. So those students who are in the CTE pathways are lucky that they're able to work with such a highly talented group of people, and you'll get to meet them here in just a little bit when we do our breakouts, when I wrap up my intro part here. Another really popular aspect of the CTE programs that we have here at the high school are the student organizations that are linked to those pathways. So as part of a high quality CTE program, we have to offer opportunities for kids to develop leadership and to compete outside of the classroom and put the skills that they're learning and knowledge that they're learning in the classroom into practice. So we have three major CTSOs, or student organizations, here as part of our pathways at the high school, which is HOSA, and that's linked to our biomedical pathway, DECA, which is linked to our business pathway, and Skills USA, which is open to any pathway. So to get into HOSA, you have to be in biomed. To get into DECA and qualify for that, you have to be in business. But Skills USA is open to anyone. So any of the other pathways, or if students who are in biomed or business decide that they'd rather do Skills USA, they can do that too. So students compete in these organizations. It starts off at a local event here at the high school, and that qualifies who's going to go and compete at the regional event and then go on to state and national level. We have several hundred students in each of these organizations, and each one is wildly successful. So I'll share some more details about a few of those here in just a second. But students get to choose which CTSO they get to be a part of. And part of our grant funding allows students to be signed up and registered for one of these CTSOs during high school. So there's a CTSO fair at the high school here in August that we advertise to all of our CTE students. They go and get to hear from representatives from each of the programs, and then they make a choice which one that they want to join and be part of. This is a picture of our CTSO fair that happens in August. You can see some interested students talking to some of the representatives who are sharing more information about their CTSO. And then once they've attended that, we send out a form and they get to sign up for the program that they want to be part of. Again, that happens in August, and it'll be communicated to all of our CTE students. So those of you with incoming freshmen, just know that communication will be coming out once we start the school year. Here's some examples of how well our students are doing in these competitions. We recently had our DECA group come back from the state competition in Anaheim. They competed in a regional competition in San Ramon recently. Then they moved on, those who qualified, and there was 88 of them who qualified to go down to Anaheim. And out of those 88 competitors, 41 scored in the top 10, and several are headed to the International Career Development Conference in Florida. And we always send a pretty sizable group of students out to that at the end of the month here. So we have several of our teachers and students going out to participate and represent the school, but also get a really unique, really cool experience, I think, going out to those competitions. This past weekend, we had our Skills USA team with teachers down in Ontario, California. We sent a huge group of 105 students down there. And out of those, 19 of them won gold, silver, or bronze. And several of those are headed to the national championships in Georgia. We also had our HOSA crew go out and dominate. We have a very active and successful HOSA organization. I didn't get the details from that competition, but I know we have several students headed off to the national level from there as well. So CTE pathway is super popular. We got most of our students are involved in at least one of those pathways. Linked to that, our CTSOs allow a lot of other opportunities for students to be involved, things that look great on their resume as they're going on to college and everything. The other thing that I want to share with parents tonight is that we're always looking for CTE advisors. And those are parents who have some experience in the industry that are linked to those pathways and are willing to provide some guidance. And the time that you commit to that can be as little or as much as you want. And there's lots of different ways to get involved. And once we get into our breakout sessions here, our teachers are going to share some individual ways to get a hold of them, as well as get involved as pathway advisors. But there's lots of reasons to serve as a pathway advisor. If you have some background information, you can connect with educators who are shaping the future workforce. So those students are going to be going into the world of work, and they might be your coworkers here in the not too distant future. You get to invest in the development of skilled professionals in your industry. You get to share your valuable insights and help tailor our curriculum and inspire students. So if you have a desire to have an impact on kids and share some of your knowledge, but aren't quite ready to make that leap into full-time teaching, this could be a way to do that. So there's different ways to get involved. It can be a guest speaker, a student project reviewer. As part of those capstone projects, we're always looking for parents and industry experts to actually give the kids some valuable feedback from people who are involved in doing that work. We're always looking for people to arrange some industry site visits or field trips to labs or anything else that might be beneficial to kids. We also are always seeking feedback on pathway goals and curriculum. We want to make sure as the industry evolves our pathways and programs, and make sure that we're supporting kids the way that we need to. So that's going to be beneficial. We're always looking for certifications that matter. So for example, our computer science teachers this year brought in Java programming certification for the first time, with the knowledge that that's going to be super beneficial to those kids as they're going into industry. So we're always looking for more certification ideas and things that are going to be valuable. And just, a general thought partner on innovative ideas. So parents who are out there and working and have ideas of what we can do to strengthen our pathways, we're always looking for that too. So as you go into the breakouts tonight, just keep in mind that we're always looking for that. And internship opportunities as well. So we shared earlier about how we have some students out in the community here working in the local urgent care clinic. We're always looking for opportunities to get our kids involved in that. So that wraps up my piece tonight. My job was to do kind of an overview of our CTE programs and share some of the big picture background of that. What we're going to do now is break into some individual pathway breakouts. So those of you who are already in, or parents of students are already in pathways, you can click on the link that your student is in. Some of them are going to be involved in more than one. So if you want to pick the one that seems most interesting to you, or maybe you want to learn the most about, I'd recommend that. Those of you of incoming freshmen, you may not have confirmed yet which pathway your student is going to be a part of, but hopefully you got some idea of what they signed up for next year. And I would encourage you to click on the link for the pathway that would make the most sense there. So I'm going to share the link again in the chat here. Feel free to click on that, and that's going to bring up this live document with the links to those breakouts. So I'm going to leave that open here for a few minutes, and I'll let you make your selection, which pathway you want to go in, and get to know some of our CTE teachers on a more personal level and get some more specific information about those pathways. And I want to thank you for coming out tonight. Looks like we had a really good turnout. Hopefully you found this beneficial. We're excited about what we offer. If you have students coming to Mountain House High School for the first time next year as freshmen, we're super excited to welcome them as we continue to grow and open up our pathways to more students. So again, the link is out there, and that's how you're going to access the breakout links here. And Tim, I see you have a question. You're posting there, are we hiring? We are. So we're actually hiring several CTE positions this year. We're always looking for qualified CTE teachers. It's hard to find people with industry experience who want to go into teaching. So all of our teaching positions are posted on EdJoin. So you can go there and take a look. You can do a search for Lammersville, and that'll bring up any open teaching positions that we currently have. I see a question posted there. Are there any engineering internship or leadership opportunities at the high school? There are. So we're always looking for ideas for internships and leadership opportunities. I would encourage you to go into the engineering pathway breakout in order to learn more about that. And I see another one. Do we leave this meeting to join the breakout rooms? Yes. So once you bring up the link to that sheet there that has the links to the pathway breakouts, you can go ahead and leave this session and join those. I'll be closing out this intro session in just a few minutes here and letting our pathway teachers take over from their breakouts. I see another question there. When will the registration walkthrough be? That's the week before school starts. We haven't nailed down the dates yet, but we'll be sending that out probably the beginning of the summer once we have those dates down. I'm going to leave this session open for just another minute or so. And again, you can click on the link in the chat, and that's going to bring up the individual pathway breakout links that you can join.